What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Philly Frenzy podcast. And I am your host, Matt, and my co-host, Rob. What's going on, Rob?
Going on, man? We got a big weekend coming up this weekend. A lot of big events going on. A lot to talk about.
All right, so tonight is Fast Forward Friday. We're gonna cover three things happening this weekend, and after this episode, make sure you stick around. We'll probably start about 5 minutes after this episode for a special edition episode covering what the Eagles have done in their front office and their new head coach. But we're not going to get into that. So let's just get right into it. The first thing we're going to start with is the UFC fight this weekend. Rob, I'll let you start off with the UFC fight because I know this is something that you're intrigued about.
I'm so hyped for this fight, man. This is a huge fight. Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus the notorious Conor McGregor. These two have fought before, but not in a very long time. These are two completely different fighters than they were the first time they fought. Huge pay-per-view. Obviously, McGregor coming back after basically a year off from the fight game. Poirier has been pretty dominant lately, other than the loss to Khabib, but nobody can fault for that. Khabib hasn't been beaten by anybody. This is a big matchup. Both guys seem to respect the hell out of each other from what I can see. What I've seen leading up to the fight. You didn't catch the weigh-ins today. They showed that off again, embraced each other after the square up. Poirier gave McGregor a bottle of his company's hot sauce. McGregor gifted him a bottle of Proper 12. These are just two stud fighters. Conor's showing his real colors now, that he is a respectful guy. Everybody should have known that what he was doing before was a character thing to get his fights hyped up. He doesn't care about that anymore. He doesn't need the money anymore. He just wants to go out, fight the best competition, and put together a highlight reel that he can show his kids.
Don't you want the disrespectful Conor though? Like Conor being disrespectful, having that kind of mentality, and then the way he acts in the ring and then outside the ring. Like, isn't that something that kind of is, in a sense, like you said, his character? Like, wouldn't you want that at all times with Conor? Like, I don't know how I feel about this whole let me shake your hand and exchange gifts before a fight.
Well, I mean, I could tell you if he fights Khabib again, that's not going to happen. Him and Khabib have real bad blood. It just so happens the past two guys he's fought in Cowboy Cerrone and now in Dustin Poirier are two guys he actually has respect for. I feel like you'll see that guy again if Dana can somehow get convinced Khabib to come out of retirement and fight McGregor again, even though Khabib's made it clear he has no interest in that fight. But that can all change in a heartbeat in the fight game. So if you want to get down to some particulars, you got McGregor coming into the fight. He's 22-4 as a pro. Poirier's 26-6. They're the same height. Conor has a slight reach advantage of 2 inches. Both guys fight with a pretty similar style. They both much prefer the stand-up game, though Dustin Poirier does have 7 of his 26 victories coming to him by way of submission. So it's not that he can't get the job done on the ground. It's just that he doesn't do it very often. McGregor has never submitted anybody since being in the UFC. He has one submission win in a previous company, but it's not what he looks for, and it's not what he's looking to do. He's looking to knock you out.
McGregor is like modern day Mike Tyson, but in an octagon. This man in 22 or 19 of his 22 victories They're TKOs. In the last fight he had against Cowboy, it only took 40 seconds to knock him out.
That's part of Connor's game, man. And it was part of Tyson's game. He's in your head before the fight starts. And that's what Tyson did to guys. He had them out of the fight before the fight even got underway. His mental, he's just, everybody recognizes the scary knockout power that dude has. And he does it by way, the difference between him and Tyson, though, is he does it by way of defensive fighting. And what I mean by that is Connor's big knockout punches come from his counter punch game. He looks to set you up for his knockout via slipping punches and setting you up with a counter punch, especially that left hook, and to put you down. When Connor's on the offensive, Connor tends to actually go more towards the body. That's when he starts throwing his spinning heel kicks to the sternum. He'll start checking leg kicks. He'll start jabbing at the body until the other guy starts to move on the offensive, and then that's when I think he really shines.
You know, I'm not much of a UFC fan. The only time I really watch UFC is for McGregor, and I got to do a little bit of homework on this fight when McGregor and Poirier fought the first time. And I wouldn't say McGregor looked very dominant. It looked like Poirier gave him a fight. But McGregor does what he does best, and he still got the KO in the first round. I just, looking at that fight, looking at the past couple fights since then, I don't think there's a chance that McGregor knocks him out in the first round like he did the first time around. Do you feel the same way?
There's always a chance for Connor to knock somebody out in the first round, man. All he's got to do is catch you slipping for the slightest bit of a second. That slight opening is all that guy needs to put you out. So, yeah, there is still a chance he can knock Poirier out in the first round. The only way that's going to happen is if Poirier gets sloppy, because Poirier has very good chin defense. He's very good at hiding the chin away. Part of the reason why he's as good as he's been standing up with guys. But if he gets overzealous and he gets in his own head about wanting to go out there and, you know, put on a show, get the upset win, he could easily make a mental error, leave his chin hanging out a little bit, and if he does, you know McGregor's going to take advantage of it.
Vegas has this line at minus 300 for Conor. Poirier's plus 250. If this was your money, where are you putting your money tomorrow night?
I'm not betting against Conor. There's no way I can bet against the guy. Here's the thing. When they fought the first time, you could see there was a clear gap in talent level between him and Poirier. Now, I think Poirier is a better fighter today than he was back then. And I would guess McGregor is slightly not as good of a fighter just from the time off. But is that enough to make up what the gap was? I don't think so. I think, one, McGregor has speed on him. His hands and his movements are faster than Poirier. The advantage starts to swing towards Poirier, in my opinion, the longer this fight goes on. If this fight gets into the later rounds, Poirier is going to have a much better chance. But I don't know if it's going to get there. If I was going to predict it today, I would say you're going to see a stoppage from McGregor within the first 2 rounds.
Do you think Russ is going to play a factor in this for Conor, coming from he hasn't fought since last year, 4 days removed? Poirier's last fight was against Hooker in a decision in June. Technically July. So it's only about a 5-month layoff for Poirier Poirier, and then on Conor's end, he's been off for a year and 4 days.
You know what? Everybody thought Russ was going to play a factor when he came in and fought Cowboy Cerrone too, and look what he did to Cowboy. He embarrassed him. I mean, that was he didn't even touch him. Cowboy never even touched Conor McGregor in that fight, and that was after a long layoff of not fighting. So I would like to think there's going to be rust. There would be with most guys, but it doesn't seem like that's the case when it comes to Conor, at least from what I've seen in the past.
All right, let's switch over to something that I actually have a little bit of brains in.
I got you.
I think we're both in agreement that McGregor's going to win this fight.
Yep.
Let's switch over to the second game on Sunday with the Bills and the Chiefs. One thing that we know for certain, Patrick Mahomes is playing, and they are in Arrowwood.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm happy Patrick Mahomes is playing. Nobody wanted to see this game without Mahomes in it. The whole draw of this game is that you got Mahomes versus Allen, two of the top three quarterbacks this season. Not saying all time, so don't twist my words here, people. But as of this season, they were probably 2 and 3 in whatever order you want to put it as in quarterback play. And it's going to be an exciting matchup, man. I think Buffalo is red hot, which helps them out, but we've all seen that Chiefs offense can be so explosive at any moment. It's going to be a tough game Sunday for both teams.
So we know Mahomes is playing. The next question is going to be Carlos. Or my bad, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Is now questionable. He was limited with the ankle hip. It looks like it's going to be game time. Also, Le'Veon did not practice this week. He's questionable with a knee injury. The last time in week 6, we got to see the Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs ran for 246 yards. Matt Milano didn't play for the Bills. But it looks like the Chiefs are kind of hurting at the running back position.
We got to forget, people forget, man, they still have Ware on top of the two guys that are hurt right now. And Spencer Ware is a viable running back. I don't think he's as explosive as Helaire, but he can still pound the rock. Now, I think Matt Milano does make a huge difference on Buffalo's end as far as their run defense. That dude is just a tackling machine. He's not a guy that blows tackles. He's one of the leaders on their defense. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely hurts Kansas City if Edwards-Helaire is out, but you still got Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Travis Kelce. There's seamlessly an endless supply of weaponry on that offense.
During this week 6 matchup, Josh Allen only had 122 yards. He was picked off once. By far his worst performance this season. Since that game, Buffalo has turned around and has gone 11-1. Josh Allen looks like
12-0.
12-0.
Should be 12-0. The one loss is on a ridiculous Hail Mary against Arizona. They should have not lost that game. Josh Allen drove them down and put them up on a beautiful 2-minute drive.
All right, so we'll say 12-0 with an asterisk. And Josh Allen is turned into an MVP candidate. In my opinion, if Aaron Rodgers didn't throw for 49 or 48 touchdowns this year, it's Josh Allen for MVP. The question is going to be, can Josh Allen do what he didn't do the first time the Chiefs and Buffalo matched up?
Well, I think he can. I don't know if that results in a win, but I think he's going to play much better this time than he did in their Week 6 matchup. Previous to that Week 6 matchup, I mean, Allen had looked good in the first 5 starts, but those back end of the season, since that Week 6 game, he's been a whole different guy. That offense has been completely different. And I need to know who on Kansas City is covering Stephon Diggs, because that man has been murdering defenses all year.
Now with this game, you have Buffalo plus 3.5.
Ooh, see, I love that half point. If I'm betting, I'm gonna take Buffalo to cover because I think this is a 3-point game. However, if I'm gonna bet just straight up who's winning the game, it's tough to bet against Kansas City and Mahomes, especially at home. They've been there before. Andy Reid's been there seemingly 100 times in his career. I just think some of their inexperience is going to show at some point, and that's going to be the slight edge that gives Kansas City the win.
Do you think there's anything Buffalo can do to actually win the game? I'll let you go first to answer that question, and then I'll follow, because I do think there are a few things that Buffalo can do to make sure that this game stays in reach and they have a shot at winning.
They're going to have to win the turnover battle. They cannot turn the ball over on offense, and they are going to need to force turnovers on their defense. Buffalo's defense is good, but they're not great. But if they can force some turnovers, and then not only force them, but then Josh Allen and that offense are going to have to turn around and turn those turnovers into points. And you can't kick field goals against this Kansas City team. I mean touchdowns. You have to score touchdowns, because Kansas City is going to score touchdowns. Buffalo, in my opinion, needs to pretty much play a flawless game to get a win.
The way I look at this, if Buffalo is to win this game, not touching on what you said, Josh Allen needs to be the quarterback he's been all year against the blitz. Make Kansas City do something they don't like doing and not blitz. They have their eighth in blitzes this year. I don't think anyone on that defense can play one-on-one with Stephon Diggs. Make them fall into a zone. If they do not fall into a zone, Josh Allen rip the team apart. Safe bet is Patrick Mahomes plus 3 or minus 3.5. But
yeah,
I do think if there's any time for Kansas City to be upset, it is with Josh Allen and the young Buffalo Bills.
Look, I won't be surprised if Buffalo gets a win here. I just struggle to bet against Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City. It's just knowing what that team can do on any given moment. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't think they've looked that great this year. Not in comparatively to last year. But they're not great is better than most teams great. So for me, it's tough to just bet against that team as dominant as we know that they can be. Now, if they play sloppy, yeah, the Bills could win this thing. Absolutely. But I don't think Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to play sloppy with all the chips on the line.
All right. We'll go back to the who you choose at the end, like we did on Wednesday.
Yep.
So let's switch over to the other game, the 3 o'clock game. Another Week 6 matchup. It is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. I'm gonna let you start. We have a guest that's coming on, our buddy Kyle, one of the only Packers fans I know. He watched a lot of games this year, so we're gonna get his input on, the Green Bay Packers. But Rob, you could start with it, and let me get him on the phone.
All right. Well, I mean, first of all, what a matchup. Two of the easily top 10 quarterbacks of all time. Most people would consider both top 5 quarterbacks of all time. I mean, both teams have played well. This is a Week 6 rematch where Tampa Bay absolutely came in and just devastated Green Bay, which I don't know if anybody saw that coming, but when they played that game, their defense came in, put the clamps on the Packers, and shut them down. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that again, but that defense sure put the clamps on Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints last week, so we know they have the ability to do it. But this quarterback matchup is crazy, man. Tom Brady at 43 years old, the dude just won't go away. Just proving again and again how great he is, as much as I can't stand admitting it. Not the biggest Tom Brady fan, but I'll never deny how great the guy is. Now, I think Tampa Bay's formula for victory is very similar to both what they did in Week 6 and what they did last week against the Saints. They have to play well defensively and give Tom some extra possessions. Tom Brady is going to do what Tom Brady does. He has to take care of the football, not turn it over. And they're going to have to be able to run the ball. It's going to be cold. It's supposed to be snowing. Don't know how the wind's going to be. So this isn't going to be a game where you can, throw these. You might not be able to throw these 50, 60-yard bombs that the Tampa Bay offense likes to run. They're going to have to lean on their run game. Hopefully Ronald Jones is healthy for them, because last I heard he's questionable for the game, and that could be a huge advantage swinging to Green Bay. But they still have Leonard Fournette.
Antonio Brown is not playing this week.
Yep, that was confirmed today, which I think is another huge loss for this team, because a lot of these guys have been in Tampa Bay their whole career, and they are not used to playing in the cold and the snow. The guys we knew going into this game that wasn't going to bother, it's not going to bother Tom Brady. He spent his whole career in snowy, crappy weather New England. You knew it wasn't going to bother Rob Gronkowski for the same reason. And the third guy that you were going to be able to lean on was Antonio Brown. This guy played his whole career in Pittsburgh. And not only is that playing your home games in Pittsburgh where it gets snowy and bad weather, you play in Cleveland where it's the same way, Baltimore where it's the same way, that's Cincinnati where it's the same way. Those guys were your guys you're going to be able to know, hey, I know how to play in this inclement, snowy, cold, windy weather, and I can show out in that weather. It doesn't affect my game. I don't know how that affects Mike Evans' game. I don't know how that affects the other players on that team, on their defense. But so the Antonio Brown loss, I think, is bigger than a lot of people are going to talk about it being. I don't know how you feel about that, Matt.
Not only with the the cold factor. Antonio Brown has had these big playoff runs before. When he was with Pittsburgh, it seemed like they were in the playoffs every single year. He was the guy that would step up for them. Now you look at this team and you lose that veteran. You don't know what you're getting from Mike Evans. You don't know what you're getting from Chris Godwin in a big game like this. Yeah, it's just another game, but we've seen some of these guys, big light hits, and they're not the same player. With Antonio Brown, you know what you're getting.
Absolutely. I mean, he was the guy before he, needed to check himself into a mental institution for a while.
All right, I'm not really sure what's going on with Kyle. He hasn't even tried to come get me. So I'm going to talk a little bit on this and see if he texts me or anything along them lines. So right here, this game, you have two very good quarterbacks, two Hall of Famers. Brady's been to now his 14th conference championship game. Aaron Rodgers has been in 3 consecutive championship games. They haven't all been hosted. If that was the case, he would have been sitting right next to Andy Reid, who's done it now twice. He's hosted 3 conference championship games with the Eagles, and he's hosted 3 conference championship games with the Chiefs. The only head coach to ever do that once, and he's done it 2 times in 2 different conferences. But to get back to this, Brady is the GOAT. There's no denying this. When you make it to 14 conference championship games, you have this conversation that Belichick's the reason that you've done it, and then you leave Belichick and you do it on your own in Tampa Bay. And you're fighting for a shot to go to a 10th Super Bowl when Belichick and them struggled very bad. So there's no question that Brady's the real 12. But Rodgers is the best 12 this season.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers is going to win MVP. Aaron Rodgers is not going to lose this game to Tampa Bay 38-10 like he did in Week 6. Aaron Rodgers is going to win this game easily. This is going to be a game where Green Bay wins by 10 to 15 points, and it's not that good of a game. People are saying that it's going to be Brady, Rodgers. Yes, it's Brady, it's Rodgers. But it's going to be Rodgers taking out his frustration on losing this game in Week 6, because we've all seen how Rodgers is. Rodgers doesn't take losing lightly. Rodgers is going to sit here. He's probably thought about this day since it happened 14 weeks ago, 15 weeks ago, wanting his revenge. He's going to turn around and he's going to make sure that he sends Tom Brady home crying.
Yeah, I mean, this has definitely been a career year for Aaron Rodgers, man. And not only that, but if you see it, the way he's been in the media and everything, dude is just happy. I don't remember the last time I saw Rodgers like this. He's sitting there, taking his little jabs and jokingly messing around with the media and just looking like he's having the time of his life playing football again, which has been something I haven't seen out of him since early in his career. And I think that's huge. It's obvious that him and Matt LaFleur are on the same page as each other, that he respects his head coach. He doesn't question his head coach's play calling or anything like that, that they have that good give and take relationship with each other. On top of that, Aaron Jones in the backfield, kid's a stud. He can run the ball inside, outside. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Obviously, him and Devontae Adams are I think, the best quarterback receiver duo in the NFL this year. It's got to be the best he's ever felt with a receiver since Jordy Nelson. I mean, because that's what it reminds me of. He knows where Adams is going to be. He has confidence that his guy is going to come up with the ball. I think the Packers right now, in my opinion, are the best team in the NFL. But that still doesn't mean that I think they're going to blow out the Buccaneers. I think this game will be pretty close. I don't think that Tom Brady's going to let it get out of hand. That's just not what he does. Dude's Captain Clutch in the playoffs. I mean, Tom Brady's a gamer too, man. He doesn't want to lose just as bad as Rodgers doesn't want to lose. But I think Green Bay will come out firing on offense a way that they did not look when they played the Bucs the first time.
All right, give me 5 seconds here. I'm just getting Kyle on, and then we have a few things to ask him and talk to him about with this Packers team. So just give me 2 minutes, or 2 seconds.
He's taking care of that stuff, guys. Anybody who's out there watching us live right now, appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast. And for anybody who listens to this later after we get it out onto our podcast platforms, we appreciate it. You know, we're just starting to get this thing rolling, but everybody who's out here giving us a chance, we appreciate you guys big time, man. Can't thank you enough.
All right, what I'm going to do is, because we can't figure out what's going on with his phone right now, Rob, I'm going to allow you and Kyle to talk. I'm just going to step out real quick, let you guys have a conversation, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
All right, so hold on.
Hi guys, I'm Kyle.
Hey, Kyle, what's up, bud?
Nothing much. How you doing?
So we're doing good, man. We're talking about this big game this weekend, the early game, Buccaneers versus your Packers.
Yes.
Nobody I know has watched more Packer games than you this season. So one of my questions for you is, what have you noticed as the biggest difference between this year and the past few years with this Packer team that you think is putting them over the top this year?
Well, I think Rodgers is playing out of his mind. The run game, I think, is at their best, honestly. The defense I see is coming around. I know we put a lot of pressure on Goff last week, and I just hope we can put it on Tom Brady, because I don't think he's going to be able to move around that much.
I agree, man. I think Rodgers obviously is playing out of his mind. This is a career year for him.
Oh, absolutely.
It's crazy to say that this many years into his career that he's had the best season he's ever had, but he definitely has. The thing I've noticed, man, is just watching him, watching some of the media and stuff he's done. The dude just looks happy for the first time in forever.
Oh yeah. I think he's playing at the top of his game right now. At his age, which is amazing. Like I know you were saying about Tom Brady. These are two of the best, I think, honestly, two of the best quarterbacks we will and ever see in this game. They're both Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Just the way how they both know how to manage the game, especially with Rodgers. I know from last meeting, week 6, it was a very on Rodgers like week, and I don't think it's gonna happen like that again. That was like one of those rare moments where these guys barely have an off game.
Yep. Everybody's had a bad one
Oh, of course, yeah.
here and there. I think. How big of a uh, injury do you feel? Because we were talking about how much it's going to hurt the Buccaneers with Antonio Brown being out of the lineup. Considering how well Antonio Brown's played for the Bucs as of late, and just his experience in the playoffs and in cold weather games.
I think it's definitely gonna affect him. I think that was Brady's one of the go-to guys. I know Gronk's another guy. I know you guys were talking about the weather and all that's gonna play a huge factor, which I think is last week. Week 6, it was in Tampa. This week it's in Green Bay, and you got to deal with the Green Bay's weather, which we've all seen that it is brutal. And
From what I'm reading, it's supposed to be air temperature of 29 degrees or less at kickoff, and snow is in the forecast.
Yeah, I was gonna say there will be snow, I think, and there will be fans in that stadium. I think there will be 900. I know it's not your typical fan base. Like this year has been a crazy year, a weird year. But 90 fans just in Green Bay at this time of year, it's gonna give Brady, I think, enough. Get him on edge a little bit. And I know you know me. I'm a stats man also, but I know you're saying Rodney Jones, and is questionable, correct?
Yeah, Ronald Jones. I heard was questionable. Now they still got Fournette, and he played well last week, but I think Ronald Jones was such a big part of their Week 6 win.
Yes, I'm like I said, you guys know me. I'm a stats man. I wrote down some stats. Jones ran for 113 yards with 2 touchdowns, which is big for them. And especially that's where the Packers struggle. And like you said, they still have Fournette, which Tampa is deep, I think, in running backs. But I think we handled the run game pretty good last week, I think.
Yeah, I think you guys looked really well, really good against the Rams, and what Rodgers did offensively against what was easily the best defense in the league in the Rams this year was nothing short of ridiculous, just like his whole season has been.
Very crazy.
I think, me personally, I have Green Bay taking this one.
Agreed.
I think it's a close game.
Absolutely.
I don't see a blowout, but
not like week 6.
Matt thinks the Packers are going to win this game by 10 to 15 points. What are your thoughts on that?
10 to 15, I think is a reasonable number, but I think it might be a little closer. I like I said last week was a lot of people said Packers had their way, and I felt that way until the third quarter. I did get a little nervous because I felt like the Rams to get back in it a little bit. If the Packers allow them to get one quarter, I think Tampa Bay can make this a very, very scary game, I think.
Okay. Now, I said the only way I can see the Bucs pulling off the upset is their defense is going to have to do what it did the first time and what they did last week against the Saints. They're going to have to force turnovers, and Brady's going to have to turn those turnovers into points.
I agree with you, because I was about to say, like I said, I wrote down a little bit of stats from week 6. The Packers didn't get any sacks. They only hit Brady maybe 4 times, compared to sacking Rodgers 5 times with 13 hits on him. So they definitely put a lot of pressure on Rodgers. And I feel like the line's gotten a little better. Don't hold me to it. But I think Rodgers will be able to move around a little bit better, because I think a lot of people could be moving a lot slower too with the cold. But once again, we'll talk about Rodgers with just the man's a monster when it comes to this time of year. He's just amazing.
It doesn't bother him at all.
Not one bit, especially for a California guy. This cold weather does not affect him one bit. Oh yeah. But I think if we start putting some pressure on Brady and switch around, not letting Rodgers get attacked as much, That would be a huge factor. Like I said, last meeting, Rodgers only threw for 160 yards with 2 interceptions, which once again is very un-Rodgers like. The run game wasn't there with only 94 yards, and Adam Jones only ran for 15 yards with a rushing touchdown. That was the only rushing touchdown in that game.
Yep.
And I know they tried getting the ball to Devontae Adams. I'm sorry, with 6 receptions, 10 targets, only 61 yards. I know Rodgers needs to get him more in action, and I think with Devontae Adams at this time, he explodes as well.
Now, a guy I think who's been an under the radar key to the Packers' success this year is Lazard, emerging as a true reliable number 2 target, and the first guy other than Devontae Adams that I feel like Aaron Rodgers has a trust with in a long time at wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. But Rodgers is once again one of those quarterbacks that can make any receiver great. And I definitely agree with you. The relationship's gotten so much better. He's hands down the second receiver to go to for Rodgers. When Adams is getting covered hard, I know he gets away. Last week he did get that one deep touchdown pass.
Yep.
And they said he does all the dirty work, which he does. He makes it look like he's just blocking, and then he just shoots out like a fucking rocket. Pardon my French, I'm sorry. It's just the guy has great hands when he gets out in the open.
Yeah, man, I really think he's been a big piece to their team's success this year. Obviously, it's still the Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams show, but for Rodgers to just have another guy that he can trust to throw the ball to, I think it's been huge. I also think it's been huge the emergence of the young tight end Tunyon that you guys have. He's had 10 touchdowns this year. That's huge in the red zone.
All right, Rob. Kyle's got to run. So real quick, I will answer your question. I'm going to need you to restate it for me because I didn't actually get to hear you.
Oh, good.
But
we had just finished talking about Lazard emerging as a number 2 option and how huge that's been. But another guy who's been under the radar on that team has been their young tight end Tunyon, who I believe was a Pro Bowl snub this year. He had either 10 or 11 touchdowns for this Packers offense. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's the most production Aaron Rodgers has had out of a tight end in a long, long time.
yeah, I mean, Tunyon has been a stud. I mean, looking at where he came from, he was a quarterback drafted, I believe, in the 5th round. It was a project. They looked at his size and they said, "You're playing tight end." Rodgers and him started to create a bond, and you saw right from day one, Tunyon looked like he was a tight end that was drafted as a tight end. Him and Rodgers got along really well. He fits that offense to, I mean, it looks like he's got a young version of Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I don't know if Tunyon's quite as athletic as that, but in the red zone, man, he just seems to find his way open, and Rodgers is looking for him at this point. And I think that's been a huge key to their success. They don't have to strictly rely on Aaron Jones to punch it in or throwing a back shoulder fade to Devontae Adams to get points when they're inside the 10-yard line. They got a big body guy that can go and get himself open and make plays for this offense. And I think it's just huge this year to add 2 guys besides Devontae Adams that Aaron Rodgers looks like he actually trusts to do their job in the passing game.
All right, so let's wrap up the Packers real quick so I can let Kyle go do what he's got to do. Kai, thanks for coming on. And can you just give us your prediction on the game this weekend?
Well, thanks for having me. I 100% think the Packers will win. It's going to be a nail biter. I'm going to say maybe it's going to be a high scoring game, I think, like last week. Oh, I'm sorry, week 6. I think it's going to be 31, maybe 27.
All right.
Close game, as long as the Packers play clean. Not last time. It was a sloppy match.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. We appreciate the insight.
All right, let's wrap this up because we're hitting 45 minutes. Real quick, it's going to be an eventful weekend. We didn't even really touch on basketball. There's not really many matchups happening this weekend that are much see, especially because it's regular season. We already know guys don't play defense. So on here, I won't cover much basketball until we get closer to the playoffs or meaningful games. Just for the simple fact of I'm not going to want to tell you guys that the Brooklyn Nets lost 146 to 145 because they couldn't stop Colin Sexton. But I will try to work in some news when I do see some news about that. But I won't cover much basketball until it actually gets into crunch time there. Rob, you probably feel the same way.
Yeah, I love the NBA come playoff time, but like you said, these guys don't care about the regular season, and not the stars anyway. The young kids do, but the stars of the NBA, they don't play defense. These teams don't play their hardest until it's crunch time, so that's when we'll really get into it.
All right, so let's just go down the line for the 3 things that we talked about this episode, and let's go with McGregor, Poirier. Where are you at?
I will take Conor McGregor to win via stoppage in the second round.
I'll raise you. I got Conor McGregor within the first minute of the fight. Mike Tyson. All right.
Oh, man.
Let's go with the Chiefs and Bills.
I don't want to pick Kansas City. I hate Kansas City. But I feel like, you know what? No, I'm not going to pick Kansas City because I despise them. Buffalo Bills win 27-24.
All right. I want to agree with you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs 38-34. Patrick Mahomes throws a game-winning touchdown to Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, you're being the smarter of the two of us there. I'm letting my fan.
You're a Raiders fan. You don't want to see them win again. I understand.
I cannot see the Kansas City Chiefs get into a Super Bowl again.
All right, let's finish it up with Packers and the Bucks.
I will take the Green Bay Packers to win this game, and I'm going to go with the score of 31-27 Packers.
You heard where I am. I'm fired up. I think Rodgers gets it done. Green Bay on to the Super Bowl. Hopefully we get Andy Reid. We get Aaron Rodgers. I got the Packers winning 31-17. All right, so that wraps us up for Fast Forward Friday. Thank you for coming out and listening to us. Also, I did not think that our guest would be the first person to curse on this show, as I thought I would, talking about the Eagles at some point, but we apologize for that. And like I said, we'll be back within the hour, and we will be breaking down the Eagles' new head coach and what we could see them doing moving into the future. But thank you for being a part of us tonight.